we want to talk about the authoritarian playbook versus democracy. With us in studio is a human rights lawyer and a member of the African Judiciaries Research Network. He was actually here like 2 weeks ago. Evans Ogada. Evans, karibu tena sana to Radio Generation.
Salama sana, good morning.
Tuko salama sana.
Why do you want to attend nightclubs in the form of a church?
I was just debating that story. I don't know if you've seen videos of the churches that are taking place in nightclubs.
No.
All right. I'll probably share with you a video or two.
You know something? Me, this nightclub issue, I'll tell you why I have the view I have.
Right.
Once upon a time, this work I was doing,
yeah,
and we were working on an island, which is part of the Mombasa County, called Remba. Remba had a nightclub-ish Kamba.
Yeah.
It didn't have a hospital space. So 3 days in a week, we would actually have a clinic in this nightclub Kamba.
Yeah.
In the mornings, from around 9 to around 3. Because it was a space. We looked at it as a space.
Yeah.
There was a distinct smell of alcohol somewhere along there, but it served as a clinic. And we did this for a while.
Yeah.
So when I talk about space, that was up until a hospital was built. Okay? But before then, we needed a space. And that was a good space where we conducted our business. So it was known during those hours as a place where you went to be checked, to be treated.
Okay.
Okay? But in the evening, God alone knows what happened.
Oh my goodness. Ogada, karibu sana.
Salama sana.
Siteta tuonesha mambo.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Asante sana.
I don't know if you've had the chance to look at some of these daily papers, but there's one thing that is very prominent here, and it's about the by-elections that are about to take place in Mbere, Malava, and other areas.
Yes.
What do you think, in your own opinion, of course, the outcome is going to be like? Are we going to see Kenyans choosing to go with Gava or choosing to go with opposition?
Well, the outcome for me does not matter much. What for me as a social scientist, as a lawyer, as a teacher, what matters for me is the process leading to the outcome.
Okay.
So far what I'm seeing, I am very worried because the level of violence, the language coming out of the mouths of many politicians, people like Musalia Mudavadi,
right,
have traditionally been very careful with what they say. The language I'm seeing from him is not the language of the Musalia Mudavadi of before.
Right.
Another thing that is worrying me is the overt and brazen involvement of cabinet secretaries in this politics. I wish to remind them, and we will not tire of reminding them, the Speaker of the National Assembly, these cabinet secretaries should not be involved in politics. This is a concern that the EACC should get involved in, Parliament should get involved in. They are violating the Constitution, they are violating Chapter 6, they are assailing Article 99 of the Constitution, which requires that cabinet secretaries essentially should be like civil servants, neutral, serving the public.
Yeah.
Yes.
But unfortunately, these public servants that you're talking about, they were literally cherry-picked, and they were leaders of their parties before taking up these positions of prime cabinet secretary, for instance, and speaker. So unfortunately, I mean, and I agree with you.
So the dictates of the Constitution do not...
No. I'm actually agreeing with Evans here. I'm saying that it's unfortunate that we are in this particular situation, yet they are the people who should actually know that once you take that oath of office, you disengage.
No. Actually, it's not unfortunate. It's fortunate because we have an opportunity for seeing the things as they actually are and for seeing those who are in positions of leadership for who they really are. There's no pretense here. Okay? These are people who cannot talk about the law with one side of their mouth and then break it with the other side of the mouth.
Yes.
We can see what the leadership has in terms of how they relate to the law and the Constitution. They disregard it completely. There's no pretense. This isn't an unfortunate situation. This is a very fortunate situation, and it's a very good one. And we should etch it in our mind, and it should be entrenched. Those who lead this country do not give a hoot about the Constitution, and they don't give a hoot about the law. So when you have police officers breaking the law, two guesses as to where they get the cue from. So we are fortunate. We can see. We don't need someone to tell us. We just need to see and hear. They're telling us in plain sight and in plain hearing. They do not regard the law.
All right. Authoritarianism.
Yes.
We did say that we were going to talk about it, and here we are.
And I'm back.
Give us an insight into what, for those, of course, who are wondering, what is this all about?
Well, we are living it. So you can clearly see the high-handedness across the region. Our brother here, Larry Madoho, is facing a lot of flack from a sister nation out here because of doing his work as a journalist and exposing what happened with the elections in Tanzania. And all those are ingredients of authoritarianism. You see what has been happening here for us. The clampdown, the abductions, media being shut down in the form of we don't want live broadcasts. All these are elements of authoritarianism. So simply for the listener today, one wondering what authoritarianism is about, authoritarianism simply is dictatorship and the tendencies that come out of it, because we have on paper governments that should live and practice democracy. And democracy, for those who are asking what democracy is a contraption of two Greek words, demos, kratos. Demos meaning the people, kratos meaning their say. So those two words were fused together to mean people having their say. And I hear our half-wit politicians always say that, democracy are alien concepts. I want to give them education for free. Democracy was ushered into the courts of Athens from reform measures brought in from the court of an African king called Cleithens. No, Cleithens was the Greek ambassador sent to study the courts of Kush and studied the methods of government, how things are run, borrowed that and took it back to Athens. And that was what the Greeks appropriated and called demos kratos. So democracy is essentially African. And you will look at all our histories. Africans used to consult, Africans used to reach decisions through consensus. When you became a dictator, Ogada wants to become a dictator and clamp down on the people and act inappropriately. The people destooled you. You know these things that these, again, half-wit politicians like when they're going for elections. They sit on three-legged stools. Those stools were symbolic. They were used to enthrone leaders. So that when you went against the ethos, the mores of the community, that stool was taken away from you. That is what we mean by destooling. So democracy, essentially and inherently African.
Right. Now, you mentioned something to do with Kush, and I just want to go back to that whole issue of Africa. Kush was around the area of Nubia, South Sudan, thereabout. Sudan area, basically. And because the history, I remember, is that, Africa was full of chiefs, kings, Akina Kabaka, the Haile Selassies and so on. At what point was democracy, can you say that democracy was really a big deal in the African region at the time?
You've traversed centuries. Haile Selassie came in
Juzi
20th century. Go back into history. You are Catholic by pronouncement and by belief and by practice. If you go back to even biblical times and you look at what is written in the Bible, you will find that people did practice democracy. You understood, if you are a priest, you belong to the priesthood. Okay? If you happened to be something else, that's what you belonged to. If you were a king, authoritarian, there were rules by which you were to abide as a king. Okay? Meaning, rules were set out. That's in biblical times. You're talking about around the Middle East. If you come to us, the Africans, we had always practiced democracy.
Yes.
Consensus was always at the heart of what Africans did. Always. Even when you hear of Shaka Zulu as he's presented by the Western world and dramatized and made, he didn't govern alone. No. He had people he consulted, and he had people without whom he would never been able to do what he did. It is how we went about our business. Now, the term Kush refers to this complexion that we have, essentially, okay? If you follow that lineage, that is the lineage that actually ruled Egypt for very many centuries.
Yes.
That's the lineage you find in the Sudan, and that's why in the Sudan you find more pyramids than you do in Egypt.
Correct.
Okay? So just keep coming down. And then bring it to the 20th century when you documented how the African nations within, say, Kenya went about their business. It was consultative, my friend. It's not something that the
so
white man...
even with our kings, we still had some...
We didn't actually have kings. The person who was a leader was the person who stood out as the one who had achieved the most.
Yes.
It was your personal endeavors and the outcomes that made you the person whom people went to.
Yes.
We didn't have a king or chief in the Western style of the word. No, we didn't. Go ahead, Evans.
All right.
And you look at the big five kingdoms in Africa, the Great Zimbabwe, the Zulu kingdom, those kingdoms that Uncle City is referring to. Consensus. And when you became dictatorial, like the fall of King Shaka is attributed to him not listening to counsel and advice, and he faced several challenges, including the influx of colonization, disease, and those kind of
Even
factors.
internal rebellion.
Because he refused to listen to advice. And as Uncle City correctly says, we had institutions to check these leaders. Within the Zulu, the institution of the Queen Mother, that's a revered institution. You had the institution of Prime Minister, which has been there and was used to check the authority of the king, and it was supposed to be consultative. Look at, for example, the Luo here in Kenya. Felix Okach and the late good Professor Ogot have written extensively about this particular society and how decisions were made.
Okay.
So when I hear these half-wits, always calling them that, wake up and say democracy was brought to us, I look at them and shudder and ask, why do we suffer the misfortune of having these people not having anything between their ears, coming and spewing a lot of nonsense? I mean, it's usually a tragedy.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Interesting. I didn't know that part about, and like you said, people were sent from Athens to come and study Kush here in Africa.
Yes.
That is actually something I'll go and research further, and just because it gives me pride to know that indeed we were not that useless as people would like to paint us.
Actually, it's called Cleithenian reforms. Cleithenian reforms were studied. Forms of government, forms of organizing government, all that was borrowed from
Kush.
And contrary to these myths that we hear, like for example, when you hear about civil service neutrality, you will hear Western deposited education tell you that this was borrowed from reforms in some corner of Europe. Nah, go to China.
Yeah.
Which has been an older civilization. And civil service neutrality has a longer history in China, and including today, whereby, for example, for you to ascend into certain offices, you have to do exams, pass and study. Be passed, so that you assume certain offices, and you are expected to, number one, be patriotic, number two, to remain neutral. Your allegiance is to the state, not to an individual politician. Yes, sir.
All right. So because there's this thing that we see in Africa, which is largely these authoritarian leaders who seem to discard democracy, or they seem to think that democracy is what they decide.
Yes.
So at what point then did we get, because it looks like it's an African problem. Yes, other countries also have, other continents rather, also have their problems, but I feel like here in Africa it's more pronounced.
That comes with the aftershocks of colonialism. Remember the bad habits of the imposed colonial governors here. Kenyans certainly remember Evelyn Baring and what he did here in 1952, and what some of his predecessors did here. That is what some of African leaders borrow and mimic to the T, so that they can consolidate power. You look at the example all over the continent, the image of the strong man. You're told you have to control things. This is a young democracy. And of course, with the help of Western powers who wanted to control things and continue to puppet things long after they had left. I am not saying anything new, but your listeners will remember, for example, of the Francophonie phenomenon, where for a long time, François Mitterrand and Jacques Chirac and all these French presidents, whereas they were physically not present in Africa,
yes,
but they deployed means to continue controlling things in Africa. And that is why you find this old man in Cameroon, 90 plus.
Yeah.
I don't know even if he's able to control his faculties. He's still president. Why? Because certain colonial interests have continued to prop him up and use him as somebody who perpetuates his interests. So there are various dynamics why these strongman tactics. Oh, of course, we cannot forget the Americans. Look at what they did with Mobutu. Mobutu was propped up by the CIA and George Bush Sr.
Yeah.
Look at Bodel Bokassa. The examples are there. Kenyatta here. The examples are there. Yes.
Okay. Like I said, I find that this is a problem that we are having alone as a continent, as much as, again, huko si mingi sana outside the continent. But yes, I agree with you, because this is a conversation that is currently being held on various platforms about how Western powers are still controlling former colonies back in Africa. So at what point then are we going to see an end to this? Because people have risen up, people continue to rise up, but I feel like the progress is quite slow in terms of just getting Africa back to its position.
We need to retrace our roots. How did we govern ourselves? What is our philosophical ethos? In Africa, I could not gobble and steal and have everything, and my neighbor is sleeping hungry. Uncle CT could not suffer indignity, not having food and clothes. Mbuvi, my brother, not able to do ABCD, but I'm happy to have flocks and herds of cattle in the name of opulence, wealth. Adam Smith's capitalism. That is something that comes into Africa with colonialism, whereby material wealth, material imagery matters. In among the Luo, for example, we have a concept called Wat, W-A-T.
Okay.
That means kinship, brotherhood, whereby you are a brother to another.
Yes.
People have had Luos always claim Barack Obama as their own, much as he's an American.
Yeah.
That resonates from this concept called what? Meaning they see him as one of their own because of some ancestral tie. That concept made sure that you were concerned about the other. Ubuntu. These are African concepts that we have cast and shed along the way. And where now we have politicians embrace the capitalist, the greed influence of my personal interest, so that people see no shame wearing belts that cost 200,000 and shoes that cost hundreds of thousands of shillings, steal from us and build mansions and everything around the country. Yet people are dying in hospitals. Greed. How many beds can you sleep?
One. Just one.
How many houses can you sleep in at one given time?
Just one.
Why should I have 10, 20 villas? And they need to remember. Look at what happened with Mobutu Sese Seko.
Yeah.
Mobutu was buried in some very small space in Morocco. Look at his palace, his erstwhile palace in Badolite. It was left to the elements.
It's
It is run
away.
down. It's wasted away. Look at John Bedell Bokassa. You accumulate all this, but nobody will enjoy it. And to the contrary, look at what Mwalimu Nyerere left behind. Nyerere became richer or earned much more after the presidency. In fact, I'm told that when he left the presidency, I think in 1985, the man had nothing to his name. He actually had to benefit from a very small house and some modest stipend from the state. So he earned much more money later from talks and other engagements after he left office. So when you do these things, steal, loot, the model is not going to be replicated. You're not going to do anything new under the sky. You steal, you loot, you will have problems. And look at our own country. Those people who have been in office and looted, we know them. I'll not mention them.
Right.
Look at long after they've gone. There are cases in courts about their estates. People fighting and looting. The companies and the empires they built come crumbling. There is profit in tracing our African ethos. You cannot think of yourself so selfishly, stealing from public coffers, running around telling us that you're giving us money in harambes and everything, and thinking that, oh, this will prop you up as an authoritarian.
Yeah.
It will not succeed. It will not work.
In a country like Kenya, where we are over 50 million, how is it that the options that we have in terms of deciding who will become MCA, MP, senator, woman rep, or whatever, all the way to the presidency, in a country of 50 million people, majority of these folks that are presented to us have got questionable character, and we still end up voting for them?
But Paul, that isn't actually true. We are presented with people of all manner of backgrounds. The group you speak of may appear to be the most prominent because they're the ones who splash around the most money. But we do have people who speak truth to power, who speak truth to the economics, to speak truth about poverty. They actually speak about things that need to be done the right way. But what drowns their message? Because it's not as though they don't have the message.
Yes.
The message is drowned. Why? Because over time, we have been socialized into a certain way of thinking. Every time people talk about politics, you'll say the Kenyan politics. And when you talk about the Kenyan politics, people understand it. It's the politics where a lot of money is spent. So anytime someone talks to you about seeking to vie for a seat, you know, I only have 50 million. You ask him, explain to me why you must spend 50 million for whatever it is that you want. Then they explain to you why they must spend it. The explanation falls short of the one thing that they should be talking about: how they are going to change the lives of the people whose votes they are seeking. The process is more important than the people. Because even right now, listen to the narratives in the by-elections. Tell me, which of these candidates do you have coming up with a plausible, rational way of improving the lives of the people? If you ask this one, they'll tell you, but if you do that, you lose the election. Then the point is, then you don't really want to help people. What you want is to promote yourself. Okay? Because if you really wanted to help people, there's a selflessness that goes with bringing about change. Our own history tells you this. The people who are recognized as the founders of this country, they had nothing. At the time they were fighting for independence, they had nothing. Literally, they had nothing. They didn't have this material wealth we speak of. But they had a voice, they had a position.
Charisma.
Yes. And that's why people supported them. We've lost this thing along the way, and we keep losing it with every electoral cycle. So that the conversation about our politics is no longer what the politician ought to do for you, but how much money he is going to spend.
And the ebbs into which we are falling are tragic, because the other day one of my brothers was telling me that he had seen a video of certain politicians giving candy, sweets, peremende, to grown-up citizens of this country.
That was in Embu.
Sweets, so that is a campaign tool. I mean, Wakenya,
People like sweets.
let us respect ourselves, and perhaps to add on what Uncle CT is saying. Look at how the path to limitation of electoral choices is manicured, how it is created, be it in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Kenya here, albeit with some little bit of citizen resistance. There are three things that I would want us to focus on in terms of how that limited space is achieved by these dictators and pseudo-dictators. Number one, authoritarian legalism. Then we have national security doctrine. Then the third one is what I call the state of exception. So let me explain the first one, authoritarian legalism. This is where you use institutions, legal institutions, and language to legitimize repression. You see, for example, the various laws that have been there in Parliament. Computer misuse.
The Cyber Crimes Act.
Cyber Crimes Act. Yeah? The interest is to control the narrative. Mr. Mbove, Uncle CT should not come on air and speak freely because we want to superintend over what they're saying. And look at textbook. Look at what is happening in Tanzania. Larry Madoho invites the administration there, come and give us your comment on what we have received. We have verified this, it looks authentic. What is your comment? They refuse to comment. Larry and CNN go on record to air, do their work essentially.
Yes.
Once it is out, what do? These are foreign subversive elements. We warn you, be careful with what you're saying. At some point, you were told that information is supposed to be obtained from one central source. We have seen this before in this country.
Yes, we have.
The Ministry of Information. These parrots that sound like Communist Party apparatchiks, they will parrot the nonsense regurgitated, vomiting all over us in the name of keeping the state line, controlling information, controlling sources of information. And now they're having it difficult because media and communication has become a hydra, particularly with social media. And that is why you see them very keen on controlling social media, using all manner of devices. Let's go to the next one, the national security doctrine. Security, peace will be used to do anything and everything under the sky. Such that something that perhaps is quote unquote offensive or a threat to an individual becomes a national security threat. Minister so, President so is found with his hand in the cookie jar. You have misconducted yourself. But in the name of national security, media should not air it. Media should not ask questions. Corruption scandals in government, national security, we are not going to allow you to air that. When citizens demonstrate, we need peace.
You're disturbing the peace.
You're disturbing the peace. For quote unquote investments, waekezaji, so that you kill and bludgeon our young ones on the street in the name of what? National security.
Keeping the peace.
Keeping the peace. The third one, what we call the state of exception. And this is for those of you who are reading, and like you, somebody like you also who likes reading. There's somebody called Giorgio Agamben. Giorgio Agamben is an Italian theorist. He's the one who came up with this theory of exception. Now, the theory of exception is you suspend the law under the pretext of protecting it.
Like what they do when a military junta takes over.
Yes.
They suspend the constitution.
Yes. Look at what happened with our Gen Zs here. Giorgio Agamben textbook. You bring in the military, contrary to Article 58 of the Constitution, and then you say, you go deploy as a national security measure. You've essentially suspended the Constitution in the name of what? The state of exception. You beat people to a pulp.
Yes.
In the name of, we cannot demonstrate now, we cannot speak right now because we have to keep the peace.
Yes.
So you suspend it in the name of
keeping the peace.
Keeping the peace. So these are the tools that authoritarians use, and you'll find that template being used all over. And particularly right now, where we are seeing a seesaw of some moves, some strides towards increasing our democratic capacities in Africa, Madagascar, Kenya with the 1-2 demonstrations we've seen. But again, with the repression that you're seeing all over, the militarization of politics, the pauperization of people. Look at what they've done. So that you become an object to be controlled. You give people candy, sweets. You have reduced them to that level of cheapness. Article 28 of the Constitution speaks of dignity. How dare you go to my home village and give an 80-year-old woman a sweet worth less than 10 shillings?
Actually, the ones they were being given, it's that bag that has 100 sweets. You probably get it for like 70 bob.
And they will probably share and fight over.
Yeah. And people lined up.
That's demeaning.
People lined up to receive those sweets.
That is demeaning.
Yeah.
Demeaning.
People lined up, City. I don't know if you watched that video.
I didn't watch it.
I have it on my phone. I'll show you.
It's painful. It's painful. You know, you need to ask yourself the mindset that sees that as a good campaign tool. How on earth are you going to improve people's lives by giving them sweets? Because the whole point of wanting to be a member of parliament is that you represent the people. Okay? Their aspirations, the immediate needs that they have, and whatever developmental prospects they may envision.
Yep.
Where do sweets come into this particular equation?
Bro, people lined up.
I know they did.
And now that Uncle City has brought the term parliament, representation in parliament, what does parliament mean? Parliament is draws from the French terms parlement. Parlement meaning to speak for. Parler, to speak. So when you are elected, essentially your role is not to dole out state resources or to give people quote-unquote goodies as they speak. Yours is to go to parliament and articulate their concerns. My people don't have water. My people don't have roads. And devolution was supposed to cure this so that we stop having this pork barrel politics whereby teen gods, these half-wits we have in offices as presidents and prime ministers, don't use that as a way of manipulating situations to their advantage. Devolution was to cascade resources and politics at micro levels, whereby people are able to decide on resources and on important questions at micro levels. What do our politicians do? Number one, because we like titles, I have to be called His Excellency. My wife or my girlfriends have to be called Her Excellencies. Yeah? We are trapped on this cycle of big titles. And then you go down there and take the bad culture of stealing and looting and repression back to the grassroots level. You've seen stories of these governors down Mashinani, abducting activists, organizing for beating and terrorizing people. We have a problem as a country with these politicians. We have a problem.
democracy, I was told by someone here, is more or less a system whereby the majority have their way and then the minority have their say. But we are in a situation whereby that small minority leadership in parliament, the 300 or so individuals, having their way all the time, and the rest of us 50 million plus here wondering which direction, where our say, yet we are the majority. And I am certain when you talk to individual Kenyans, regardless of their political affiliation, will actually tell you that what they're experiencing, what they're going through is bad, So at what point will the citizenry wake up and realize that they actually hold the power? Because I feel like we are told, and we are told every single time, even during campaigns, we are told, nyinyi ndio mtaamua. But
well, do we really need to be told?
That's why I'm saying that we already know. Forget even being told, we know. Tunajuanga sisi ndio tuko na kura, because at the end of the day, anyway, city, I'm the one who's going to elect you. You won't elect yourself.
What is it that happened to us? Why? How did we morph into this group of people who can be enticed with candy? How did we morph into this group of individuals who can line up to receive 50 shillings, 100 shillings, 200 shillings, 500 shillings if it's a lot? How did this process take place to the point where in reality we actually lost? Because by the time you get to that particular stage as a nation and as a citizen, you are lost. Where somebody comes up to tell you that they want this leadership position, they want you to vote for them, and then they proceed to give money to as many people as possible. And that in your mind is fine, and you even justify it by saying they will do nothing when they get elected, so let's take the money now. Right, let's make the money 5,000 shillings, so that it's a decent amount, shall we? Okay, for every, and that is a place where the population that is voting is, say, 30,000. And you have 5,000, right? How much is that in shillings? 5,000 per person, and the 30,000 people.
That's close to 1.5 billion, I think.
It's 150 million.
Let me just do that math real quick. But yes, continue.
Now, 150 million. This individual, when he's elected, will receive more than that per year as part of his NGCDF to come and spend on you. In 5 years, it'll be $1 billion. All right? Now, so what is the guarantee that even this money that he gets, that is if they don't remove it, he will actually use it for the purposes that he says? That's number one. What is it that guarantees that he will even listen to you? Because the whole purpose of the vote is that he listens to you and then goes and demands what it is that you want in that august house. What the leadership should do is to remove you from this position that I've described, to make you understand that they really are your representatives and that what you want is what is important. So let me raise the question again. What is it that do you see and find in our electioneering that points to people who aspire to this position actually, the word we use is empowering, I don't like the word, making the people get to a point where they understand the very pivotal position that they hold in the nation. That's why we're called the sovereign. How many leaders do you hear of who take the time to get people to understand their role as a sovereign? Because when the sovereign know their position, they're in a position to hold you to account.
Yes.
Laws are created because the human nature is understood.
Yes.
They will act contrary to what you consider to be the law. And what is the law? The law is what guarantees that the common good is catered for. That's why the law exists. And that's why there are consequences to it, because it is understood there are people who will abrogate it. And because of that understanding, there is a provision that is provided so that you deter people from doing it.
Yes.
Now, why do you have three arms of government? It is for the same reason. And by the way, they're independent. Completely independent. That's the whole purpose of it. You know, I've told you about the Luo nation, Paul.
Yes, you have.
And I've explained to you why it is you find women from that nation as vocal as they are. Our process of determining disputes involved an entire community, and it was a whole day affair. It could even extend to the following day. And everyone was allowed to speak. Women were allowed to attend and to speak. And when you spoke, you were asked, "Are you through?" That's when the next person was allowed to speak.
Yes.
So we are a debating society. Us, that's how we have been socialized over time.
Yes.
And there is no voice that is actually considered to be more important than the other.
Yes.
But that is not the case that we see now. We find that there are cases where people feel that because you have elected them, let me repeat, you have elected him, his voice is better than yours, and it is you who has elected them. Is that not the complete definition of nonsense?
It is.
And to what Uncle CT is saying,
Yes.
we realized that democracy has been facing structural changes all over the world, so that this three arm of government structure is being changed all over the world. So you look at countries like Mexico, Kenya here, South Africa, Rwanda. We have brought in what we call the fourth column, constitutional commissions. And constitutional commissions are supposed to play two roles: oversight and regulation over the traditional three branches, so that the ombudsman, Kenya Human Rights Commission, IBC should play oversight and regulation. What are we doing currently? We send people into these commissions, people who know nothing, people who want to be career commissioners, people who still think of, when you go into this commission, you think of yourself as the traditional civil servant. I've quarreled with them on this for some time, because if they did their work and did it properly, we will not probably in this mess embedded at these levels. Another thing that the Constitution borrowed, owing to the continued change and realignment and adaptation of political principles, public participation.
Yep.
Public participation at Article 10, a major principle of the Constitution. Look at Article 118, public participation in parliamentary affairs. Again, a requirement. What is public participation? What we have been saying here. The civitas, the people being involved and engaged in processes. So that you don't say, I am speaking on behalf of Mr. Mbuvi or Uncle CT, and you did not consult him down there. You want to make priority choices on building a road or X and Y policy, legislative choices. Talk to your representative, so that we bridge what we call the democratic deficit. You are invigorating the life of democracy, because it died along the way. What have our people been doing? Our people think public participation is a courtesy. It's just a name there. You talk to people, I will do what I want. But Parliament is not necessarily representing us. And we are not saying anything new. No less than Dr. William Ruto Kiprichir Samoei, PhD, University of Nairobi, told us that these MPs are corrupt. They are taking money from my people in the executive. And when you have such a damning statement from the head of state, what does that mean? So now I go to the question that you asked.
Yes.
How do we, as a citizen, reverse the course? So number one, we have to think of legal counter strategies. We have to go to court the way we normally go, to ring fence the Constitution. If we leave it to these people, the politicians, they will kill this Constitution and we will go. This is another conversation will be had another day. We have what we call the Vima Constitution. The Vima Constitution, that is the Constitution that was very good on paper, but was not well protected. It died and brought us Adolf Hitler.
Okay.
Another conversation. Let us ring fence the Constitution by using legal strategies. Civil mobilization, civic mobilization. Mobilize wherever you are. Mobilize, continue demanding, activists, journalists, wherever you are. Ask those questions. Transnational solidarity. What is happening in Tanzania is not far removed from us. Do not see your brother suffering and think that you are far off. Please stand in solidarity with them. Stand in solidarity with those in Uganda. When Kiza Besigye is kidnapped and treated the way he's treated, tomorrow it will be you. And as Martin Nemola asks, when they have come for everybody, who will defend you? Digital resilience. The civic space is becoming fast and front and center in terms of democracy and democratic protection. let us use that platform. Let us use those platforms to counter disinformation, to organize securely, to send the message. Let us be active in those spaces. That is how we are going to counter these authoritarian tendencies we are seeing.
Right.
Yes.
Evans Ogada, thank you so much for coming in, for having this conversation. I feel like in those few minutes that we've had this conversation, I have, learnt a lot. And obviously now I need to get back and just check out. There's so much we can actually learn from the civilization of Africa before what we know it as today.
Oh, yes.
So much we can learn.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mother Africa.
Yeah, and you've said it rightly when you said we need to go back to that time, or at least embody some of those particular values that we had way before our forefathers had them.
Tap into our spirit.
Yes.
Yes.
We need to. Thank you so much. Again, we invite you, kama kawaida. Today we've talked about authoritarianism. Perhaps another conversation shall emerge about perhaps what we need to do now and focus literally. And I feel like we can actually do that. Just focus on what the citizens can do to reverse and get back to our tracks.